It's funny to think back that not too long ago, I was at a point where I thought that the days of dating somebody new were behind me. Especially after we had signed a wedding contract and were talking to vendors, it felt like I was at the finish line. And that the days of stiff texting, meeting a new family for the first time, or holding in farts at Cheesecake Factory were all behind me as I mentally prepared for this next phase of romantic life with my soulmate. But little did I realize that I would soon find myself back in the unfamiliar world of being a single man. And 7 years, that's plenty of time to get rusty when it comes to meeting new people. The first thing I kind of noticed when I got back out there was just how much the scope of the dating app scene had changed. Um, Before I met my ex, Tinder was kind of the main place to be for that sort of thing. And I was used to the classic formula where you would match, talk on Tinder for a bit, um, migrate over to Snapchat, and then from there you'd either meet up or you just get ghosted. And I used to even joke back then that it's probably why they made the Snapchat icon a ghost, because that's all that really ever happened. And not knowing any better, I still thought that was the way to do it. So I would attempt that same formula. Um, but I quickly found out that Tinder is now nothing but just bots and crypto scams, and that asking for somebody's Snapchat's like asking if they have a DVD player. So Grandpa Patch got with the times finally, and I got on Bumble, which seems to be one of the more popular dating apps nowadays. And even though I moved to the right place, my rust was still very evident. I kind of forgot that like saying "Hey" or "How's it going" aren't really good openers. It's the only place where that doesn't work, so you kind of got to riz it up a little bit, and it's annoying because every message kind of feels like a game of Minesweeper, where one weak response or one weak text could end your entire run. And on top of just dealing with the initial and bigger heartbreak, these consistent failures weren't doing me any good. Um, if anything, they kind of felt more like mini validations or reality checks that I may not be cut out to be a romantic partner. Now, I can't blame myself for having this mentality based on where I was coming from, but I do think the real issue I had early on was my expectations. And of course, after exiting a long term relationship and being engaged, I was looking to fill that void as soon as I could. Um, and unknowingly, I was envisioning somebody new to watch shows with or go food shopping with, go to concerts with. Just everything that I used to do with my ex. I was looking for a new version of that. I think I was looking too far ahead. But again, hard to blame myself because for the past 7 years, that was all I knew. Um, Now, there were some matches early on where that all felt possible. We would have great talks over text, only to meet in person and realize that the chemistry just didn't translate. And I would find myself with some like acute levels of grief. Somebody that I had been messaging with and getting to know would disappear very suddenly. It was just kind of a vicious and unforgiving cycle of disappointment that I just wasn't used to. And many people do state that this is just how dating apps are and just kind of the nature of the beast. And there's honestly a lot of truth to that. The model's not really designed to be an instant spouse maker. And if we can call a spade, I do think honestly every match is more so due to physical attraction rather than it is character. Because it's hard to fall in love, or rather swipe right on someone's bio. And personality can't be read through a picture of a guy holding a fish he caught or a girl wearing cowboy boots with her friends in the parking lot. Just by design, we're not really getting what we need from the profiles that we're matching with. We're basically eating dessert before dinner. And I heard an interesting take from a video that I watched not too long ago from an older woman who had been through several marriages and divorces. She mentions that there's no such thing in love at first sight, and that's really just called lust. She goes on to say that love is something that needs to be developed, nourished, and maintained, and it doesn't appear out of thin air just because somebody has a nice face or a cute butt. Um, and this stood out to me and was kind of the reframe that I needed going into dating, going forward. And without realizing it, lust kind of was what initially brought me to my prior relationships. Before all this, I feel like the love part of it was figured out after the fact. And even then, there were always um, compromises or sacrifices that need to be made in order to keep this quote unquote love alive. But in all honesty, nothing was being maintained or nourished. It was more so just trying to avoid the next argument. And realizing how true love actually works helped my approach tremendously when it came to meeting new people. Matches and dates no longer felt like new wife interviews. Hell, not even new girlfriend interviews. The purpose now of matching and meeting became a lot simpler. That was just to meet a new person. Of course, there's the unspoken truth that we find each other attractive, or at least the photos that we posted. But the moment that I would expect any other outcome was the moment that I was just set up for failure. And in all fairness, too, looking at a new match as a potential new fiance does also put an unfair amount of pressure on them as well. I'm inadvertently setting them up for failure at a very early stage where they're also doing their own kind of awkward tango to get to know me. And admittedly, being able to sort of detach from the outcome has made the act of actually going out and dating a lot more fun and fulfilling. Um, I find myself a lot more relaxed and present when I talk to women, whether it's over chat or in person. And not that I'm like some love guru or some woman whisperer, but I do feel like I noticed it in their energy as well. There's been a few dates that I've been on now where they definitely seem shy and nervous at first, which is normal. But eventually they do relax and get comfortable when they realize that I'm just a regular guy. One of the first dates I went on, where I had this mentality going into it, was actually one of the best ones that I've been on so far. Um, we met up at a board game cafe, which was a new thing for both of us. And of course, we were both awkward at first upon meeting each other. And also, when it came to understanding how the board game cafe worked, we were definitely in an equally vulnerable spot. Um, However, it was really cool, and we had a really fun time. We enjoyed ourselves. We ended up playing until the board game place closed. And afterwards, we walked to a nearby bookstore. We browsed, bought some books, and then we got dinner. And after dinner, we got caught in a rainstorm because we parked a few blocks away. And it just kind of felt like a perfect Hallmark movie type of date. And I think just the loose and just casual energy is kind of what made it very special. We met up a second time after that, and I think that was where we kind of realized that we may not be right for each other romantically. But regardless, it was a lot more fun figuring out something new with a stranger rather than trying to force an outcome that wasn't there. And at this point, dating for me now is just kind of a healthy excuse to get out of the cave and be a person every now and again. Um, I even told my therapist too, and she found this amusing. But I was telling her that like my approach to dating now is that worst case scenario, I got dinner. And when I started approaching dates like that, I realized that it was a lot harder for me to lose. I went on a date a few weeks ago in the city with this girl that wanted to meet up at a bar to watch the World Cup. We watched the Morocco and Netherlands game. Um, and when her and I met up initially, we of course did the awkward hello, made some small talk, and got to know each other before the game started. And I think kind of early on we realized that we weren't really compatible. Um, Now, many people may have seen that as a waste of time and like, ah, that sucks. But in all honesty, I actually enjoyed myself. The bar was packed with a lot of Morocco fans, and the game was super intense. It went to penalties. So her and I got to experience a really exciting soccer game, And of course, after the game ended, we left, went our separate ways, and that was that. We never talked again. But in that particular case, the worst outcome there was that I got to watch an awesome soccer game, and I can't be mad at that because I wouldn't have done that otherwise. So I was very just grateful that I went out in the first place. And I've been on many other dates, especially as of late, where I found myself starting to get better at the active dating. I'm a lot better at the initial small talk. I'm better at learning how to carry a conversation, and also just better at getting a full understanding of what I actually want in a partner. Um, and not to say that I'm perfect, but I think the repetitions and just the practice has done me some wonders. And something else that's also helped is that after the fact, I've been able to reflect on the dates differently. After a date ended back then, and I'd be on my way home or I'd be at home just kind of laying in bed, I would sort of stress and think about if they liked me or not, or if I did this right, or if I said the right thing here. Um, but now at this point, I more so think about how I felt after the date and if I enjoyed my time with them, rather than if they liked me or, if I did or said the right thing. Because honestly, at that point, like what's done is done. And I know with the way I'm going into it now, I'm showing up as my authentic self and they don't really have to like it. And as it stands currently, I think for me, dating is far from over. Um, but in all honesty, I'm kind of okay with that. I've actually been enjoying the process of meeting new people, hearing different stories, different walks of life, and not only that, but also going to places or doing things that I wouldn't have done otherwise. Dating has become more about living this new life that I'm currently in rather than trying to replace the old one. I plan to keep doing what I'm doing since it's made me happy, and I didn't realize how much fun I'd actually have going on dates again. So I've been enjoying the process regardless of where it leads. And who knows, maybe it'll take a few more board game cafe trips or a few more fartless dinners with strangers. But that's fine because I know that somewhere along the way, I may just end up meeting somebody that's worth building a life with.